Hello everyone, it's Kay here with another sponsored video by Handy Hippo. That's Handy Hippo, www.co.uk, your online craft store where they keep just about everything from all your top brand names. I was set a challenge by Edie Jane Clark, who organises the design team members and the owner of Handy Hippo, Seema, and asked to alter a package that they've sent to me, which consisted of 3 hexagonal boxes of varying sizes, the nesting boxes, some of this wonderful Do Crafts acrylic artiste paint in this beautiful shade, I'm looking at the colours here, of pearl frosted mint, rose pink and light grey. So there are 3 lovely items there. Some new embellishments to the store, which are these beautiful butterflies. They are multi-layered. The body is made up of wood and the antenna of little stamen-like additions to the block to give that realistic look. Some flowers that I received in a previous DT package that have come to good use. They are absolutely gorgeous, lovely to work with, all made from mulberry papers. These lovely, I want to call them buttons, and that's what they look like on the back. They have the self-adhesive stickers, but they really are. This is Mother's Treasure by Scrapberries, and they really are so pretty. The detail on them for such a small surface is absolutely gorgeous. They're very smooth to touch, they're not glossy in any way, and I believe they've just been kind of press stud into using this white plastic disc at the back, which would allow you to stitch probably or anchor down with the foam pads. So that's that one, I'll leave that one there. I also had these lovely little blings, 3 different sizes from large, medium to small in the colours there that you see. A lovely stencil from Tim Holtz collection, which is a blossom affair when it comes out. It's called Blossom TH5031 from the Tim Holtz collection. Very nice to use. I used some more of the Anita's ribbon that I had last time and some more of this modelling cream by Viva, which I can't extol the virtues of enough. It is a lovely product to work with. I was also asked to utilise the Genevieve collection by Bo Bunny, which I was very happy to do. So I'll show you the first box I came up with, which is this one. Now what I did here was cut out the various dishes from the page. I've glossy accented them. Oops. And all of these things are available on Handy Hippo. I forgot to mention the glossy accents. Here are the butterflies from the new collection. Some flowers from my own little stash. The yellow ribbon here. What I did, using what was left of the American cardstock, I made little tiny belly bands, which I then anchored to the surface of the lid, threaded the ribbon through, and then used these little acrylic doodads around just to embellish the little pocket to hold the ribbon with. But I think it's quite effective. Each of the little cutouts on the box and in each of the little facings, I've put different plates, serving dishes, cup and saucer, all of which were glossy accented and then just laid flush to the American cardstock, which was laid flush to the box. I've left the brown colouring of the box, as you can see, in all its glory. I think it just added to the overall look of the box. and then inside the box is quite plain, and I just lined the base with the other side of the dish card. I just thought that that was such a lovely, delicate paper, and it does lend itself to this design quite nicely. So that was the first box I did, which came out quite well, I thought, and just lent itself nicely to all the products that I was asked to use. I'll just move these papers out of the way now that we've seen them. The second box is another very different way of doing. I've used several techniques here for these boxes. There is the little embellishment from the Handmade Creations. Which package was it? This one, Mother's Treasures, sorry. So I've just nestled that up against one of the pink flowers that I talked about before. Used the strings from the roses, which are quite long, but they're wires. They're quite long, but they are completely covered, and they lend themselves beautifully to just being coiled. If you just use something round, wrap it around like that, there is absolutely no need to cut off that. It adds quite a nice bit of detail to the flowers once you actually put them on the box. What I did with this box in the first instance was painted it all with the light silver, just to get rid of the brown box on the inside. I then, using a good adhesive tape, put a string all the way around the lid once it was decorated, and anchored it down with a little bow and hot glue. To get this effect on the box was actually very, very simple. I used the pearl greeny colour, what was it called again? Let me just check it out. Frosted Mint, and the rose pink, and this brush that I was sent from Handy Hippo, which is not a painting brush, and I used it to stipple the colours. So what I did basically was put a puddle of each colour onto my card, dipped my paintbrush into it, and then with one colour and the other colour just blended them all in together to give that quite pretty effect. With the Frosted Mint being metallic, it's got that sheen to it, which is why I then went to the Viva to use the Tim Holtz stencil, and all I did was placed it randomly here and there on the sides and the lid of the box. Used the Viva, which is pearlized in its own right, and the colour here is Mother of Pearl, and it just blended really, really nicely to give this overall pink and cream and green effect, which is a bit shabby, I guess you could say, at a push. The lid fits on quite nicely here. You do have to be aware of the flowers, obviously, but I think overall it's quite a nice effect. The Viva just lends itself beautifully to having this stencil jump out, and the muted colours behind it just give a really nice overall finished effect to the box. So I hope you quite like that. When I did, I thought it was a different technique, a different way of using these acrylic paints, which just go on and on and on. There is, I think, 120ml or 70ml, I can't quite remember, in each of the box, in each of these tubs, but they really are excellent quality. They do cover in one coat. On lighter backgrounds you don't have to spend a lot of time building up the layers, and it does dry quite quickly. The butterflies, as I've already stated, are multi-layered, as you can see here. There are 3 layers. The little wooden body part on the butterfly anchors it down. The antennae then, which you can separate and manipulate to how you want them to look. Just sit nicely there to give the overall effect of the butterfly. So that's that one. The third challenge I had, which I have to say was very much out of my comfort zone because I've not used anything like this before, was to make a cupcake box out of foam materials. And it actually, bearing in mind it's for children, it's not for us adults, it works really quite well. It's called foam clay and silk clay, and it is really quite a scientific product from my point of view. I haven't used the black because it was for a child's project, and it is the weirdest of stuff, I have to say. If I open it up, the first thing you're struck with is the smell, which is a bit well, I asked the film crew and we decided that it was a bit soapy in its smell. It's not unpleasant, don't misunderstand, but it does have an aroma to it. Now this, if the camera can pick it up, you just spread it out with your hands, and this is like it's made up of trillions and zillions of foam balls that have been put together in an adhesive way, which still gives it fluidity, malleability. You can roll it, you can scrunch it, you can twist it and really go to town with it. It's not Play-Doh, I have to stress that. It's not Play-Doh. It's got the same effect, excuse the phone, it's got the same effect going on, but it isn't that plasticine effect at all. It's very, 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 very easy to use. You can roller it. When it dries, it turns to a kind of paper effect. I used my rolling pin, to get this effect from it, and just rolled it out, because if you get it rolled out thin enough, you can actually use it in punches, but it does need to be almost see-through. You would trim off the rough edge with your scissors. This isn't quite dry yet, and it does become set, if that makes sense. It becomes quite rubbery, like the foam that you can buy in the shops to make items out of in the pads, but it starts its life like this. If I open it up, in this kind of gloopy, play it all, stretch it, and it's full of air, but it is able to be moulded and popped back into the pot for safekeeping. There is absolutely no waste with this silk and foam clay. Whilst they've got different names, they actually perform in pretty well the same way. This is all dried out. I've put it through a couple of punches, and if you reconstitute and add a little bit of water to this, which I don't have with me at the moment, you can actually reconstitute it fully so that it looks as though it's just come out of the little pot here. Great for play schools, great for playing with the children at home. It just lends itself to all kinds of projects. It can be anchored to things, it can be rolled up like cigars and cut out and made into different shapes. You could make little embellishments with it for any kind of project that you wanted to. It's ideal for covering the papier-mâché shapes that are held in stock in Handy Hippo. You just literally press it into the area surface that you want to cover, and it covers beautifully. And here is, now bearing in mind it's for children, here is my cupcake foam cupcake box. And what I've done is dressed the box in silver paper, as you would. You could fill it with little treats for children. You would have to make sure it was obviously given to somebody under supervision, because, you know, as tasty as it looks, it really isn't edible. I don't believe it's toxic in any way. It wouldn't be, but it's not an edible product, and a little child might feel it looked good enough to eat. But all I've done, basically, I've used this brown foam here and created a base for my cupcake right out to the very edges of the box, and it lent itself to that very, very easily. I just patchworked it in, molded the bits together, as you can see I'm doing here, and it just filled out all the edges. I then had a little dollop of it in the center, which I rolled into a kind of donut shape. I made 2 different layers of different sizes, and then just gently molded down the sides to give the peak to the cupcake that I wanted. I then got the white here that I've shown you already, and just put that, molded it out quite thickly, I have to say, because I wanted to give that iced effect to the upper side of the little cupcake here. I then rolled out a candle, and as it's drying, it's becoming quite solid. Put a little bit of the pink on the top just to give that faux fire effect for the candle. And then using these punches, which are actually quite small, I cut out the heart shapes from the foam and the floral shape. If I open that up, you can see the shapes a bit better. And then used some of the bling that I was given to just decorate and accent those lovely little foamy bits. It's huge fun to work with, it really is. I think a child would absolutely adore getting their little hands into it. There's no staining on your hands, nothing comes off on your hands at all. I then made a faux edging just using silver paper that I folded and crumbled a little bit. A lovely little bit of acrylic organza ribbon here, just to add to the edge of the box to give it a finishing. But as I say, you could inside the box put anything that you cared to for a child's party, and it's a nice little keepsake thing to take home for an older child by way of a party favour. So I hope you found this quite interesting. It is a lovely product. As I've said, all the products that I've used today are available on Handy Hippo's site. Do go along and have a little look-see, sign up for the newsletter, check out all their fabulous bargains, which are fast and furious all the time, but at least by signing up on the site you do have your emails telling you when these special offers are available. I hope this has been interesting. I hope it's inspired you in some small way. Happy crafting, everyone. Thank you for sharing this time with me. Bye bye.